What to do when you feel overwhelmed, like your project is too big for you to accomplish?
I would say break it into smaller pieces. Again, I'll speak from my personal experience with writing. I have written a couple of novels, and that's really the only way to write a novel. A novel, most people would admit, is a big project, whether it's just a 60,000 word novel or you're writing, the next Harry Potter book that's 9 million pages long, or whatever. That's really the only way to do it, a big project like that. Sometimes you can spend years working on a novel, is to break it into smaller pieces. You have to break it into chapters, break it into scenes. And that's really the only way to get through it, because it's such a big project that you'll just be hopping around to different parts and never actually accomplish anything. Even if you're actively writing, you won't have a cohesive novel that anybody actually wants to read. So any other kind of project, I would say, if you're feeling overwhelmed by it, just break it into smaller pieces. You have your big vision and you're feeling overwhelmed by your big vision, because that does happen sometimes. But, what is the next step I can do? Or what's one small thing I can do? Or what's the next stage or level? If not just whether it's a small task or the next level, and then you break that next level down into smaller tasks. But basically just break it into bite-sized pieces and focus on one little thing at a time. And if you do one little bitty thing and that's all you did all week long, and that gives you enough time to step back and breathe and get your thoughts organized again, that's okay. Because then you can go back to it again and know what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think writing down the steps it'll take to fulfill that whole goal that you have or big project, and then just tackling one step at a time. Like saying, hey, by the end of this week, I want to just do one step or two steps. And it's super helpful. I mean, I think I do it mentally. I don't necessarily write it down, but I do it mentally. And then I just find myself naturally conquering these steps very easily, actually. And it will surprise you what you're capable of when you actually just take the time to plan it. I think the planning is the hardest part, like coming up with a blueprint for how it's actually going to get done, like tangibly, Like one of the things I'm doing right now is scheduling a live music video shoot. Oh, God help us. Like, it's just probably one of the hardest, ambitious things I've ever done. But, I know what I need. I need a videographer with 2 camera angles, at least 2 to 3 camera angles. So like a video crew in essence, and then live sound, and I need the musicians and a place. So I know all those things. So the first thing I think is like, let me just go find these people, And then that's where I start, first thing there. And then talk with them about each part of that project. And it's super ambitious, but if you just start with an email, you can go so far.
I really like that. When you take a big picture goal and then you break it down into sections and break those sections down into steps, it could take a while to do that. But once you do that, it gives you a lot more peace of mind. And you can visually see, like, hey, I'm getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And that's really helpful. Another thing that I'll do if I feel like I'm overwhelmed by it is the stepping away, like you would always say. And then once I step away and I get refreshed, then I'll close my eyes and picture myself having accomplished the goal that I'm trying to achieve, like what that would feel like, where I'll be, what people would say about it, and how it could maybe help people or encourage people. And then once I have that new motivation, it doesn't seem so overwhelming. And if it still seems big, it seems worth it.
One thing I'd like to share from a professional standpoint is, have you ever heard of a kill fee?
No.
It's something, as a professional and a creative, something you really want to look into and get used to doing is, if it's your own creative project, that's one thing. But if you're taking on a project, like if I'm doing a television commercial for somebody, you want to make sure when you take on a project and you're making a contract for it, that it's not going to get too big, because you're the one who's going to have to bear the strain of it. If it does get too big, you're going to have to be willing to, lose money on it, or, usually what you have to do is you have to bring other people into the project in order to satisfy your client. So you always want to try to break it down as early as possible, like even before you start on a project. if you're making a contract for like a music video or commercial, for example, you want to think about all the stages you're going to go through, and you can put in a kill fee for it. Like if your overall project is $30,000, you can say at this stage, if the client isn't satisfied, you can kill the whole project for this fee, like $3,000 or something. Or you want to put at different stages of a project, how you can make the client responsible. If the client isn't satisfied, if they're getting too, if they want to make it bigger than you originally allowed it to be, try to work it into the contract where we renegotiate the overall expense of the whole project at certain points. So it's good to break it down as early as possible, especially if it's like a large scale project. And, I didn't know what a kill fee was when I started going freelance. And when somebody explained to me, it's a lifesaver that if a project gets too big and overwhelming and you don't want to deal with the client, you can negotiate just killing it for a fraction of the total project.
That's cool. That's cool.
So
Yeah, I think a lot of creatives get overwhelmed especially when they're working for other people, right? So if you're professionally working for others, I think the overwhelmed feeling comes when a project kind of blows up in your face and it becomes this monster of a project that you didn't expect. Yeah, and so as a web designer, I don't necessarily do the kill thing where like you pay this amount to just kill it and we'll all go our different ways, but I do give heavy boundaries. So as a web designer, I say, like you only get 2 revisions, right? Like if you can't decide what you want revised on your website after 2 revisions, like you got to pay me by the hour. And this is what I charge. And so it's very articulate. And there's no open holes. And I actually say it too. Like, here's the contract, and this is what I'm saying. So just know, like, if you're not really paying attention and you're not working with me well, you're going to actually pay more. And it's not to be mean to you, but it's to be healthy on my end. And so and people are cool with it. I think we're so scared as creatives sometimes, but people are actually responsive to it.
Make sure you subscribe. We here at Helpsy, we love doing videos, and we have some great things coming at you. We have things for writers, musicians, business owners, anybody who really has a project and a heart to reach people. We want to help them do it. So if you are a creative or business owner, we got tons for you.